Lassant, can we do a sound check with you?
Yeah.
Okay, can you hear me?
We can, thank you.
Welcome, thank you.
I was just going to say that the first time I saw those bubbles was in Switzerland in the mid '80s, used with snow, and
You
it
would
was a
roll
very
down the hill.
yes. And I would see there were all kinds of extreme skiers, and they would play tag with people in them, bounce them off with the skis.
Yeah, there's a couple different types. There's one called a
Yeah.
Zorb that's a bubble inside of a bubble.
That's the one, yeah, for that cushion.
Yeah.
Commissioner Smalling, that was me waving at you this morning in my smart car. I didn't know if you saw me, but just as you were
Clearly I was in my world.
coming out of the Carnegie this morning, I was doing a wave.
Well, I appreciate that belated wave.
I think in a future meeting, we should each have to bring an album cover that's our favorite piece of album art before the meeting starts. That would be fun.
Oh, absolutely not. That's so difficult, Scott.
Come on.
You
we've
know,
got
it fell.
Leon
Oh.
Redbone.
Of course, Scott has an entire record collection
Isn't
behind
that
him.
great?
Yeah.
It's like-
Rate My Skype room is like drooling over your background.
You know, or we have jazz records. Almost every jazz album cover is an amazing piece of art.
Madam Chair, it is 4 p.m. You have quorum.
Okay, well, I'm going to call to order our May 17th, 2021 regularly scheduled meeting of the Oklahoma City Arts Commission. Welcome, everyone. We now have a quorum and we'll begin the Oklahoma City Arts Commission May 17th regularly scheduled meeting. As you may know, we have set up this meeting in a webinar conference format, and this meeting is live streamed from remote locations. As instructed in the agenda, those who called or emailed us in advance to let us know your name, contact number, and agenda item you wish to speak about will be recognized. Your text, email, or call will not be received once the meeting has begun. Before the Arts Commissioners vote on each item, I will ask if any members of the public wish to speak. If you wish to speak, please use the raise your hand feature, which is Alt-Y in Zoom, so that I can recognize you. If we lose our connection for this meeting for more than 15 minutes, we will consider any remaining items at our next regularly scheduled Arts Commission meeting on June 21st at 4 p.m. That June 21st meeting, a reminder for commissioners and the public, will be in person at City Hall. We will now conduct a roll call vote. Mark, can you assist us with that?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Bailey,
Present.
Commissioner Kovash,
Present.
Commissioner Salyer,
I'm here.
Commissioner Booker,
Here.
Commissioner Chambers,
Present.
Commissioner Cooper,
Present.
Commissioner Duong, Commissioner Eichmann,
Here.
Commissioner Hill,
Here.
Commissioner Loftus,
Here.
Commissioner Mulsant,
Here.
Commissioner Ramirez, Commissioner Seward,
Here.
Commissioner Smalling,
Present.
Commissioner Williams. Madam Chair, that completes the roll call vote. You have quorum.
Thank you. Our first item is item number 2, approval of the meeting minutes from the April 19th, 2021 regularly scheduled meeting. If everyone has had a moment to read through the minutes, and if there are no corrections to be brought to our attention, I'll entertain a motion and a second.
Second.
So I had a motion from Commissioner Loftus and a second from Commissioner Cooper. Any further discussion? All those in favor will be called upon in roll call vote. Sorry, forgot. Mark, can you
Madam
assist
Chair.
us? Thank you.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Kovash,
Yes.
Commissioner Salyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Booker,
Yes.
Commissioner Chambers,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner Duong, absent. Commissioner Eichmann,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Loftus,
Here. Yes.
Commissioner Musat.
Can I say yes if I wasn't a part of the group at that time?
No, ma'am. You do not vote on this.
You abstain. You abstain.
Abstain. Commissioner Seward,
Yes.
Commissioner Smalling.
Yes.
Bert,
Madam Chair, that completes the roll call vote. The motion passes.
I do want to edit Commissioner Smalling or give him the opportunity to edit his. I think he needs to,
Was I not a part of it last month?
I think, is
were you
that?
here? If you remember yourself here, then you'll be okay.
I
Okay,
need to change my vote as well, Madam Chair. I was not
Okay.
present and I'm not eligible to vote to approve those minutes.
okay.
Please,
Well, however
Mark.
that needs to be done. I was present, but
So Smalling
I don't know.
was present, and if you could remove Chambers from that. Do we still have the number of
Yes.
votes?
You
Thank
still
you.
have a number of votes to
Okay.
pass.
Thank you, everyone.
That's the most work we've done on a minute approval ever. I hope this isn't precedent for the rest of the meeting. So, okay, moving to item number 3. These are items for discussion and action. And we have a special presentation by Deborah McCall Center, who is the president and CEO of Allied Arts. And this presentation is related to the COVID-19 impacts on arts organizations. Deborah, welcome to our meeting today. We have your presentation up, and I believe that you can begin whenever you're ready.
And you may be muted, Deborah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
I was saying thank you, Commissioner Bailey, and Madam Chair, for the opportunity to be with you and share some of these numbers. This is something that Allied Arts set out to do several months ago, trying to gather accurate numbers of our local arts community of what the impact of COVID financially on these arts groups. And so we did an 8-month survey, and then we did the comprehensive year-long. So what you will see today are the results of the year-long survey that we can use. And I have to beg Commissioner Eichmann's forgiveness ahead of time because she has already gone through this presentation with me. But Liz, maybe even more information will come out today as I go through this. First, we wanted to kind of set the stage and share with you the national impact, the national scene, and certainly with the number of jobs. They're down by 830 jobs as compared to February 2020 levels. And these were studies we pulled from Johns Hopkins. But as you see, the one that was not able to rebound quite as much as these other sectors has been, no surprise to us, all arts, entertainment, and recreation still remains the highest % of jobs lost. And I'll go into those local numbers later, but the arts and entertainment sector, with that still continuing to be 32% down. The problem certainly is that the longer we all stay closed, it's the longer lasting scarring effects that we think are going to be harder to rebound from. So in all the presentations that I'm doing, and I'm giving this about to 12 different people, we will also be talking to Mayor Holt. We're also have a meeting scheduled with Lieutenant Governor Pinnell to brief them on the numbers and just the local impact. The financial losses are estimated at 16.3 billion, and 99% of the producing and presenting organizations all communicated. 99% had canceled events, which is not a surprise. A loss of 523 million admissions and 16.6 billion in that ripple effect spending that you will see from restaurants, lodging, retail, parking, all of those combined. The other thing we wanted to share with you was the challenges with, so on the national level, some of the greatest challenges were the technology conversion and requirements. So whether it was from audience members that didn't have the equipment needed, students that didn't have the equipment needed, or the actual arts organizations that didn't have the technical expertise or the requirements or the actual equipment. So those all proved, however, certainly they have gained an understanding in these areas. And we think one of the positive things of COVID is that our arts groups have become more proficient. It was just in those first months, not having the necessary items to still continue to deliver the arts to different various communities. So we really focus this on Central Oklahoma arts organizations. And as I said, this is a 12-month survey. And Rob, you can go to, these are the groups that did participate. We sent it out to our member agencies and grantees. So 46 people received it, 39 participants filled it out, and it was a rather complicated survey. But I will say this survey had all totally objective questions. It was bottom line, black and white. We were asking for those financials, jobs lost, actual numbers. So all answers throughout the survey were objective. I think the one interesting thing is when we gave them the opportunity for all of those arts leaders and CFOs, and when we gave them the opportunity to give a narrative, many of them gave the response that the COVID has been a significant mental health impact on them, on their groups. So that was something we did not ask on the survey. We were going for totally objective answers. But I think it's interesting to note that we heard that over and over. As I said, it was sent to 46 groups, 39 participated, and Allied Arts is included in the overall survey. The collective budget of the respondents is more than $51 million. And to give you an idea, the smallest group is $63,000 annual budget. The largest group is a $9 million budget, but a collective budget of $51 million, and showing a total loss. You'll see the total revenue loss of 41% there. Then we just decided to delve deeper in. We divided it among the bigs, the mids, and the littles. And we clearly saw that the littles had been very reliant on getting assistance and had also had significant losses as a result of the pandemic. So total revenue losses, as you see there, a 21 million, 21.2 plus the, if you'll go to the next slide, Robbie. Okay, also on the number of jobs lost, we had everything, the one that it was the greatest impact lost 66% of their full-time staff. I think the other number that came back just as amazing to me and surprising, where we had, because this is just 39 arts organizations, 476 contract and seasonal employees were let go. 476 among 39 arts groups. So as I said, we did not capture anything subjective. It was specifically an objective survey. So we were just bringing these numbers, but a couple of the takeaways that we saw, certainly, as I was mentioning before. So the 21.2 million overall revenue loss, we helped organizations and they very much aggressively went after the money. It would have been even worse if they had not received the 11.9 in assistance. But we are saying the collective impact was 33.1 million among 39 arts groups. So we do keep saying, certainly, it is going to be more than a 12-month recovery. Every time I talk with my executive committee, my board, I'm saying we need to project a 3 to 5 year recovery period. We want to continue to do everything that we can, as I said, to meet with local leaders, with county, with our governor, our lieutenant governor, to make sure they have these numbers and know the impact. As you saw, the total revenue loss of organizations is 41%. And we did our best to do what we could to assist them in getting additional funds. And we will continue to do that. And so we do hope to make presentations at the county level as well. I also wanted to give just briefly how this impacted Allied Arts. You know, last year when COVID hit in March, we had already raised $2.2 million at that point. This year, obviously, we started with zero. And everybody thought last year was going to be our most difficult, but certainly we are seeing that this year is the most difficult for our fundraising efforts. In a normal year, Allied Arts will raise $3.4 to $3 million. As of today, 680. We're down more than we would like to be. A year of the groups and communicated via mail, email, in person, that we were asking them to budget up to 25% less, just because we did not know, there were so many questions in this year, what the fundraising year would bring. And we certainly don't want to spring it on any of our arts organizations at the last minute, a cut of any kind. But we said to budget up to 20% less than what they got the past year. So I'm happy to say that it's not going to end up being a 25% loss. We know we still have 33 working days, and of course we work weekends too, but 33 working days to try to make up the deficit. And it's about right now we're about 780,000 short of our goal. You know, part of that is our workplace campaigns, because what Allied Arts does, we go into all of these companies and they educate the employees. We use employee engagement, get people out of their comfort zones and doing art and doing arts activity. And we can't go to the companies and the people aren't at the companies. My team is doing an unbelievably great job reaching as many people as they can, but just the sheer numbers are down. So that generally raises about 625 to 650,000, and we just hit 500,000. So I told Robbie I'd love to share these numbers so that this group is certainly the advocates that we need in moving forward as a collective voice. I've already met with Amber at the State Arts Council, so she has these numbers, and she will be joining us for our talks with Pinnell, and then hopefully if we are able to speak with Governor Stitt. But we just wanted to show that collective power. My executive committee is now aware of these numbers. We haven't made it public yet because there are some people that we wanted to share the numbers with before it was released, like Kirkpatrick Family Fund and Inasmuch and Oklahoma City Community Foundation. But we are getting ready to make the numbers public so that our community can know what a devastating impact this has been on our arts groups. So I am working with Robbie on making some connections for the city and a proposal that we have. But I'm happy to take any questions that you might have. I really just wanted to make sure that we conveyed these numbers and let this group know how severe the impact has been financially.
Deborah, Terry Cooper. One, I want to say thank you to Allied Arts for all the work that you're doing in compiling this information and making it available to the public and other parties. It's so important. And so I really appreciate the efforts that you're going through. One thing that I hope that you'll be able to do, I know you said you're meeting with Lieutenant Governor Pinnell. Sometimes it comes back through various media that our legislators kind of downplay the importance that art plays. in our, well, in just about everything. And so I think that if you can really impress on them, this is a loss of real dollars to real people all over the state. This is not just, oh, the arts are losing money. No, these are people whose incomes are being impacted, whose jobs are not available, so that they can see the real economic impact that this has. So thank you for
Absolutely.
working on that.
Commissioner Eichmann, I
Absolutely,
think,
yes.
oh, sorry, I'll let Deborah respond.
Yeah, I think, Deborah, because you were cutting in and out, but one of the other things that you shared with me had to do with operating reserves also, and that this time period has really depleted operating reserves that are necessary to these arts organizations, and that probably most of them are operating with less than 6 months, and some of them really probably closer to 3 months. So that's pretty dramatic going into a year where your funding is down.
So on top of the survey that we did a deep dive. We had a committee of about 8 people from Allied Arts that looked at the financials. And yes, they did answer questions about reserves, remaining reserves. We had 3 arts organizations that have 0. They're really waiting for something to come through to even stay open. I would say our committee determined about 6 arts organizations to be on life support. Liz, thank you for bringing that up, because it was a major part that somehow I just was skimming over. But the other thing is we have already lost 2 valid, excellent arts organizations. Life Change Ballroom closed their doors, and also Oklahoma City Jazz Orchestra. And Oklahoma City Jazz Orchestra opened for us at our kickoff last year. They were excellent. We loved the missions of both of these organizations, and we cannot afford to lose any more arts organizations. While COVID has been 16 months, we feel like it's taken us back 10 years financially from where we were. We have, I say we, all of us on this call, many have spent longer than 20 years. I spent the last 20 years, this group of people and my board have spent so many years working to build a strong arts community. And a lot of it is being impacted through totally not, no fault of their own. It is strictly pandemic related. It's not poor management. It is strictly pandemic related that has turned these, made it difficult.
Deborah, are those organizations going to be able to open back up?
I think a lot of the ones that I consider on life support do a lot in the schools, and some of that will be determined if they are allowed to be in schools. These groups, many of them were not allowed as community people to be in school because of the restrictions. Like with Life Change Ballroom, they teach in the school partner dancing. And so they were unable to, by the sheer of what they teach. However, what they do is so much more than that. It is a mentoring program. It is a mentoring program that has changed lives. And in 20 years, I've seen kids who have grown up and gotten out of that program and have gone with very careers, and they attribute it to, I'm sorry, am I still skipping out?
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to see at an Allied Arts function, the kids from Life Change Ballroom, and they are just magnificent. The confidence that you see in their faces and the joy that they are experiencing in the ballroom dance is amazing. You just see it in their whole essence. It's wonderful. You can tell that it's much more than just a dance form. It is a life change.
Even more than that, Commissioner Cooper, I will tell you, these kids all tell their individual stories. They talk about shots fired the night before at their home. They talk about they're being raised by a grandparent. Both parents are incarcerated. This is their family. Life Change Ballroom is their only safe place It is the place where they grow. It's the place where they learn manners. It's where they're learning to dream about college and to put together a resume. So it's far more than learning to cha-cha or rumba. So.
Madam Chair, if I may.
Yes, please.
I believe I'm the only employee of an allied arts member agency on the commission. Deborah, what do we need to do?
Well, as I said, I think part of it is us coming as a united front and presenting these. So part of it was figuring out how bad really was it. I think the thing that's interesting about our survey is that it doesn't have any of the multipliers. That is a pretty tremendous survey. With the multipliers, I just think we wanted to get down to drill down to the actual numbers, because like I said, I'd seen the Johns Hopkins and it had multipliers. And I'm like, we really need to drill down just to our groups, the ones that people know and attend. And so that's why we wanted these true numbers to start with. But as I said, we have I see Steve Hill on, and Commissioner Hill, sorry. And we will have opportunities to continue to present these numbers. We have to provide that united front on trying to appeal to some of the large foundations to say, it is dire and we cannot lose 10 years in the arts just because of this last 16 months. So, but we will be putting together, Brian, just a group from our arts organizations as well, to begin sharing this with their boards, so that we can kind of make this a little more widely known. We've gone to some of the major corporations, Paycom, Loves, letting them know, setting meetings with them.
As a follow-up, thank you, Deborah. This has been the most challenging of times for our United Arts Fund and arts and cultural organizations. Thank you for your steadfastness.
Because we're not done. We're definitely not going to give up. We still hope to exceed 3.464 to 5 million this year. We won't stop. But we just need people to know how dire and how terrible the impact has been. Robbie?
I think if I'm going to leave the floor open for any other questions.
I think Commissioner
Booker has a question.
I just, I think this is great. Thank you for doing this. I just want to bring up that there's a lot of people who are commercial artists, entrepreneurial artists that are simultaneously dealing with this same issue. And I think that it's worth reminding everyone that there's these two different elements to what we do, and that just as many of those people have been impacted. I mean, for one, the Flaming Lips, I know our income dropped down to 1/4 of what it was pre-pandemic, and we can survive that, but there's a lot of artists that can't. So, so much appreciation for what you and your team do. But when you're speaking to these people, and I do the same thing, I run into a lot of these people as well. I think it's great for us to bring up both sides and remind them that this is hurting a lot of people, and that it just adds to that element instead of it always just being. I think it's great that we think of things as a quality of life issue, but it's people's jobs, and I think your survey brings that up. But there's a lot more jobs than this is bringing up, and I just wanted to mention that.
Commissioner Booker, thank you for bringing that up, because there are the numbers from the Brookings Institute, and those were released a little bit before we launched ours. It looked at the entire creative industry for Oklahoma. So we do have those numbers, and depending on who I'm talking to, I have those in, but I probably should have brought those up with you today, because we did have creative industries as a whole, and they even drilled down for Oklahoma. So we got those numbers from Amber
Great.
Sharples.
Thank you.
Great. Thank you again for presenting this report. And you talked about that you would love for the report to be public. Well, it now is, because this is a public meeting. And hopefully it's available on YouTube if you want to share the link after the meeting is over. So we do need to receive this report. Since it is an action item on the agenda, I would open the floor for a motion in a second to receive this report.
I'll move.
Commissioner Seward and Commissioner Cooper with a motion in a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, I will ask Mark to do a roll call vote to receive.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Kovash,
Yes.
Commissioner Salyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Booker,
Yes.
Commissioner Chambers,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner Eichmann,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Loftus, Commissioner Loftus is muted.
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Mosat,
Yes.
Commissioner Seward,
Yes.
Commissioner Smalling.
Yes.
Madam Chair, that completes the roll call vote. The motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to item 3B, which is called Shaved Portions by Shakaya Booker, a monumental work of steel and recycled tires for Oklahoma Contemporary at Campbell Art Park, 41 West Park Place in Ward 6. Commissioner Eichmann.
Yes. Chair Bailey, I'm going to need to recuse myself, so I'm going to go offline right now.
Okay, thank you. Mark, have you noted that in the minutes?
Yes, Madam Chair, it is noted that the commissioner recuses herself at 4:30 p.m.
Thank you. Do we have an applicant here to present this item, or Robbie may end up presenting?
Yeah, I will start it and then
Okay.
I can hand it over for questions.
Thank you.
So. Okay, so this site, the project site, to remind everyone, is just west of Oklahoma Contemporary's new museum on North Broadway Avenue. And you'll see here, Campbell Art Park was renamed in 2017. And then along with, in cooperation with Oklahoma Contemporary, and the new focus for the park has transformed it into a 3-block long outdoor art gallery. We want to mention that this is in the Downtown Design Review District, so it will require a certificate of approval. Also, an allowed use in downtown design is a cultural exhibit. So this is allowed. Some of the permitting requirements for this project are a Visual Arts Rights Act waiver, compliance with the DTD regulations, and city engineer review of drawings, because I'll show you in a minute the size of the sculptures, and then issuance of appropriate permits. Here is an image of what it will look like, although this is inside. These will be in place for 10 months. There are modular armatures of stainless steel that are bolted together as a skeletal structure, and then they're wrapped with rubber tire skins. And the artist slices, twists, weaves, and rivets into radically new forms. Here's a picture, an image of the armature. And I also want to note that we have 2 guests here today. We have Steve Boyd and also Karina Evangelista. So I'm going to go ahead and put Steve Boyd on first. I know he had a few words he wanted to say.
Thank you, Robbie.
Steve?
Can everyone hear me?
Yes, Steve, can you state your name and your address for the public record as part of
Of course.
Thank you.
Steve Boyd, Oklahoma Contemporary Arts Center, 11 Northwest 11th Street, Oklahoma City. So this is, as Robbie said, an exhibit that's going into Campbell Park that we would like to propose for Campbell Park. Previously, we've had 4 other art installations there: Orly Ginger's Terra, Tomas Saraceno's Cloud City, Irwin Reynolds' Whiteout, and most recently, Jen Lewin's Aqueous. I would like to introduce to the commission our new Director of Curatorial Affairs, Karina Evangelista, to say a few words about the exhibit. And if anyone has any technical questions after Karina, I'm happy to answer those. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve. Can everyone hear me?
We can, thank you.
Yes. Great, thank you. Thank you for the introduction. I'm a relatively recent transplant to Oklahoma City, having come from the East Coast with both a curatorial and editorial background in the arts. Most recently as an editor for an art publishing company in New York, but with previous curatorial experience at MoMA in New York and the Delaware Contemporary in Wilmington, as well as an independent practice in the Philippines. I'm happy to provide a brief description of the proposed sculptural installation by Chakaya Booker titled Shaved Portions. Designed with the specific dimensions of Campbell Art Park in mind, this monumental installation will have quite the commanding presence. Although impressive in scale, the installation is manageable in parts as it comprises modular steel armatures wrapped with recycled rubber tires. And the artist will be here in July to oversee the assembly. The modular units are to be bolted together. Her work was recently given an extensive feature in the New York Times, and it was noted by the curator of the Whitney Biennial that first brought her to critical attention that Chakaya's practice seems to be geared toward exhausting the possibilities of rubber tire as a medium. And it seems that 3 decades on, the end of these possibilities has yet to be reached. Cited among the themes her body of work has explored are industrial decline, the ecology of salvage, and the material legacies of Black labor. Although she started out literally picking up tires from the streets back in the 1980s, her sources for tires now include Michelin, that supplies her with tires from race cars and motorcycles. So I think it will really be interesting to see when the whole thing is installed over here. And finally, I'd like to thank you for including us in this forum where the meaning and impact of art are discussed in depth. The art sector can be weighed both in quantifiable measures such as dollars and cents and employment rate, but also in measures more complicated to pin down, such as mental health, the critical importance of artistic expression in our personal lives, in the city's life. So how Oklahoma Contemporary is able to contribute to the art sector in the city is an honor. Thank you.
So the staff recommendations on this are to recommend with conditions to Downtown Design Review. The conditions are review the engineered drawings for structural works by the city engineer, the CA issued by DDRC, and the issuance of an appropriate permit by the city.
Madam Chair, I would like to recommend with staff recommendations.
Second.
Second from Commissioner Seward. Any further discussion from commissioners? Commissioner Cooper.
I was wondering, it looks like this piece could be very inviting for personal interaction. Is the structural integrity such that it is capable of being a playground? It looks like it could be a playground.
If Commissioner Cooper, if I may, we hope that that doesn't happen. We will have signage out to discourage that. And we also have 24-hour security at Oklahoma Contemporary, and we will try to keep that to a minimum. The pieces are very structurally sound. I don't think it would hurt the structure, but we don't want that.
Okay.
But that
It
said,
just looks inviting.
it is very inviting. And that said, it's worth noting that this allows for the possibility of inviting perhaps a dance group to interact and to use the sculptural installation as a kind of, as their set through which they can do their dance and movement.
Commissioner Kovash.
Yes, the last time I was in my DC office, I got to visit the National Museum of Women in the Arts, and she has an installation outside of the building along New York Avenue. It's an entire block, and it was wonderful. And I don't think a car running into it would have hurt it. So I think we're going to be safe with the kids.
Just to give you one idea, it says in the engineering documents, there's 48-inch long earth anchors. So, and those are throughout and the city's engineer will take that into mind with the structural review as well.
Commissioner Moissan.
Dimensions of this piece.
I think this is a question for the applicant, and she asked, what are the dimensions of the piece?
Oh, I'm sorry. The sculpture is 28 feet high, 70 feet long, and 23 feet wide.
Substantial.
Thank you.
Commissioner Cooper?
Are the tires affixed to it in such a way that they are flat surfaces and not so that they will retain water when it precipitates?
Yes, the tires have been flattened. The roll or the curve that tires normally have will be taken out, and yes, that they will drain.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Seward, I believe had a question.
Yes, I was just going to make a comment. There's a great article on this artist 8 days ago in the New York Times, the Sunday edition. You could probably even look it up directly online. She's a phenomenal artist, and we're excited to have her here in Oklahoma City.
It's very neat.
Will there be an artist talk to talk about her work while she's here? Well, I mean, while the piece is here, will the artist be here to talk about her piece of art?
Yes.
There will. Karina, would you like to take that?
Yes, because the artist will be here to oversee the installation, we're taking advantage of her being here, and an artist talk public program will be scheduled around the time of the opening, which would be the last weekend of July. And we will definitely share more specific details on that with you all.
Thank you.
Okay, I think that we can move to a vote on this item. Seeing no further
Make a
questions.
motion that we approve the installation or
Let's see,
recommend.
we have a
yeah.
motion
Mhm.
and a second.
Yep.
So Mark, we need a roll call vote, please.
Thank you, Robbie. Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Kovash,
Yes.
Commissioner Salyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Booker,
Yes.
Commissioner Chambers,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Loftus,
Yes.
Commissioner Mosant,
Yes.
Commissioner Seward,
Yes.
Commissioner Smalling.
Yes.
Madam Chair, that completes the roll call vote. The motion passes.
Thank you. We're now on item 4, the consent docket. All of these items on the consent docket are murals, and we can vote on them as a collective together as a consent docket, or if any commissioner wishes to request that we discuss any one of them individually, we can do that as well. Today we have for consideration item 1, home, by Carlos Barboza and Anton Morton, doing business as Manifold Creative Concepts. This is a 3-mural panel for the Alliance for Economic Development at the new Homeland Grocery Store, 3748 North Lincoln Boulevard in Ward 7. This is shown on the screen in 3 pieces. Then we have Bienvenidos by Edgar Artsy Eddie Hernandez, a mural at District Hotel, 2200 Northwest 40th Street in Ward 2, and that is shown on the right. Do any commissioners have any questions? I'm scrolling through. I see no hands. Oh, Commissioner Kovash.
Is this District Hotel the same as the Tropicana? I'm a little confused about the location.
I believe its previous name was called
Havana Inn.
Havana Inn.
Havana,
There you go. Yeah, that
Got it.
didn't
Thank
sound
you.
right.
Yeah. I was in the same ballpark.
Same
So
thing.
the newer owner, I think is from California, and he came through and he renovated the entire hotel. And this is part of several panels of murals that he has planned. And so you have seen some of the work before. I think it was about 6 months ago, there was Votes for Women that he had a female artist do. And now this is just another in the series. This is on panel 2 of the panels he has at the hotel.
Madam Chair, I move consent of this item.
We have a motion from Commissioner Chambers. Is there a second?
Second, this is Meg.
From Commissioner Salyer. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Mark will, we have one from Commissioner Kovash.
This is a Terry Cooper discussion. I just think both of these murals are gonna make a huge difference in those neighborhoods. So I'm excited to see them come up.
Your comment has been noted. And based on everyone's facial expressions, there's some agreement to that as well. Moving on to a vote from Mark.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Commissioner Bailey,
Yes.
Commissioner Kovash,
Yes.
Commissioner Salyer,
Yes.
Commissioner Booker,
Yes.
Commissioner Chambers,
Yes.
Commissioner Cooper,
Yes.
Commissioner Eichmann,
Yes.
Commissioner Hill,
Yes.
Commissioner Loftus,
Yes.
Commissioner Moussant,
Yes.
Commissioner Seward,
Yes.
Commissioner Smalling.
Yes.
Madam Chair, that completes the roll call vote. The motion passes.
Thank you. I think we are on item 5, discussion action on reports from committees. My numbering is a little bit off, but we will start with Commission Advocate.
So Commissioner Cooper announced, and I think I'm preaching to the choir here, but I just think we need a huge round of applause for Oklahoma City being voted #1 in street art by USA Today. I can't even think back on my arrival in Oklahoma City many, many years ago, and how I could possibly imagine that we would receive that incredible honor. And everybody sitting on this commission, Terry, I particularly want to point to you and Jim Loftus, because you've been at it for a really long time. But it's stunning. And the publicity and the just all that honor should bring to the city, I think is going to pay off for years to come, and really a remarkable feat. I remember probably 20 plus years ago sitting around the Automobile Alley board table talking about trying to paint a mural on the 900 North Broadway table, and the references that we kept using were Philadelphia for what they had done to deal with gang violence and graffiti and issues, and we beat them. I mean, it's just so totally incredible. So that was my big report. I was hoping to deliver champagne to you all, but I couldn't get that done. But we'll have a mock toast and just enjoy this incredible accomplishment from our whole community at large.
Well, I think a real shout out needs to go to Chris Canale and the Oklahoma Mural Syndicate, because while they didn't start our street art, they were the first organization, I think, that really really approached us with a plan for murals down there on the plaza walls. And I think their actions and their plan was a game changer for us. We put faith in them and they delivered in a very responsible, very creative, very ingenious way. And they were at the forefront in the mural movement. So I think they deserve a whole lot of credit.
Totally agree, Terry. Thank you for that shout out. And then to all of the artists upcoming, just the 2 that we approved today. I mean, it's just, you know, an evolution that has been, I have the privilege of sitting directly across the street from Yuri's beautiful mural on Yuzo Sushi. And it just brightens up my day every day. So that's my report, Robbie. I don't have anything else.
Commissioner Loftus, do you have a question related to the report?
I have no question. I have a comment. And that is, I kept looking for Robbie Kinzel's name to be mentioned in the article and didn't see it. And I think of all the people, she's worked as harder than anybody else.
Here, here.
And so here.
Thank you. Well, I thank you for that, Mr. Lott. You're one of my biggest fans, so I do thank you for that. And the feeling is likewise. But I did want to say something about the Mural Syndicate as well. You know, they had their milk crate jam last weekend, and I was not able to attend, but I did see it all over social media. So it looked like quite a happening, you know, with dancers and all kinds of people visiting. But they also have recently expanded to an all-woman mural festival that will begin this August. And they are taking applications now. And Virginia Seitz, who is new on the Oklahoma Mural Syndicate board, was one of the people behind this, young artist Virginia Seitz. So this is really exciting. And their idea is that they will also take this woman group all over the state to do an August mural festival, because they feel underrepresented. So I just wanted to say that, because I thought many of you might not have heard that yet, but you certainly will hear that more in the future.
That's really fun. I'm looking forward to that. I've been watching some of the tidbits on social media. So, okay, thank you. The next item is the Arts and Culture Building Trust Task Force. Commissioner Chambers, do you want to report on our behalf? Very limited report so far.
This is an incredible ad hoc group. We, to their testament, our chair, Bailey, and our arts and cultural liaison and primary program planner, Kenzel, have arranged and gathered the best minds in our city to explore this possibility. We've met twice, and this past meeting we heard from peer cities and organizations that could model what's possible in our own community. Here ends my report, and perhaps Commissioner Bailey, who co-chairs with me, may have something to add.
I think the organization that we heard from at the last meeting was called Art Space. And if I can find a link to it, I'll stick it in the chat. Just an organization to research. Several members of the commission actually sent this to Robbie and I and Brian as a suggestion, and it was a very great suggestion. So I can't remember who sent it. There were several of you guys that sent them as a suggestion. And I received some very good feedback from the committee members after that presentation. So thank you. This ends the report entirely. Moving on to staff report, Robbie.
Yes, I'm pleased to report we had another completion. We're going through a roll of 1% for our completions. This tells you why Randy has been so busy in the last several months. So just last week, 360 Respite by Don Narkamy was completed along the MAPS 3 trail at Lake Stanley Draper. I've seen it all over social media. People are sharing. It's very close to B52 because B52, you know, the spinning around one by Dan Moore, is out kind of on a peninsula. And the Parks Department wanted something with the remaining art money that people, they built a gravel trail. So you can actually walk out and sit on both sides of the bench to either rest from the trail at that point or just look at the art, at Dan Moore's art. So it's really beautiful. And it's also from a recycled fallen log, which makes it even more interesting. Also, an update on the Air Force Monument at Kirkouch Park. We asked the parks, we started thinking about this because it was going to be so long before the GEO bonds were sold for the South Park and Woodson that we were starting to consider moving it. And we asked the Parks Department if they had equipment that they could actually go up on a lift and check the tiles. And they did. They checked all the tiles on the obelisk and found that the one that was a little bit loose was the only one that was loose. So they took it down. And they also removed the construction fence. And so what I asked them to do was to go ahead and get it adhered tightly and put it up and begin inspecting it more regularly in hopes that we don't have to move it at all and that we could commission new art for the park. So Commissioner Salyer, I wanted to make sure you knew you were muted.
Yeah, that's a great report, Robbie. Honestly, if it could stay there,
exactly,
good repair, that would be the best of all worlds, I think.
I think it was just unknown. We didn't know how bad it was, but since they did have the equipment, they were able to check it, and that was great.
What a great solution. Thank you for that.
Well,
and
Robbie?
Oh, yes?
Will there still need to be some repair to the box on Air Force sculpture?
That's probably something that we will need to look at, either cleaning or something. We'll have to just see if we can find money somewhere. But there's certainly some cleaning that needs to be done and some waxing to stop some of that corrosive on the feet, I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Also, staff completed a final inspection of the terrazzo tile and the fritted glass at Will Rogers World Airport terminal expansion last week. And we identified placement of all the markers. And so that will be open to the public in late July, early August, because lots of different pieces are opening up at different times. It's just going to kind of be, wow, everybody, sees it all at one time. Also last month, after our last meeting, the Oklahoma City Zoological Trust has approved an arts services agreement with the Office of Arts and Cultural Affairs. So this will be the first time we will formally be working with the zoo as well. We also work with Embark and the Airport Trust. So this is a great thing. They've already got 4 projects lined up over the next few years that we'll be working on. And then we received a grant award notice recently from the Oklahoma Humanities for funding to recontextualize the land run experience with Indigenous perspective. So that will be going to City Council next Tuesday, asking them if we can accept it, which I know many of them are very excited about that.
Robbie, may I ask about that? Will we be reaching out and working with the artist, Paul Moore?
Yes, we will, actually. So the committee, they did a statewide call last November, and we advertised it heavily on social media. And they ended up having to use their invitation list. And after we started interviewing all the artists on that list, they selected Anita Fields and Yadika Starfields, who are both Tulsa Artist Fellows. And in developing kind of our preliminary project plan, they want to visit Paul Moore and recognize him as a Native artist. I think that's a very important part of the work that they will do for the site. So
I'd
we
like
were
to really hope that we could, that
yes,
would cause to bring some good.
right.
reconciliation.
So we will be creating this perspective, and we will also, we have some money to use to create an artistic marker that is different than an art marker. And then also we have some money remaining in some other funds that we will go ahead and put 2 new markers just about Paul Moore, the artist, and the monument itself. So there will actually be 3 different markers at the site eventually.
Madam Chair and Liaison Kensel, may I?
Yes, please.
I get to serve on this committee, and I am very grateful that I get to be as quiet as possible and listen to the numerous Indigenous voices who are so critical to this response. I cannot brag enough about the committee we formed who are informing this entire process. And I think that the respect for Paul Moore and the artist's work and that perspective, in addition to completing the spectrum of voices that need to be heard and represent our community, have been properly amplified. So I'm grateful to all of those who have supported the work of the commission in forming this full response.
Yes, and the Oklahoma Humanities said that their board was thrilled with this application and they want to see more from us. So
great.
We, of course, were thrilled to hear that. And that's the report.
Excellent. Do we have any comments from commissioners? Commissioner Kovash.
This past weekend, I attended 2 of the, well, one of them was the art walk in Norman on Friday, and they were, it was kind of the opening night for these murals they had painted. They juried some artists to paint these murals around all of the storm drains to make sure that, I'm sorry? Somebody said something. Anyway, so the mayor and a few of the other city people took everybody on a tour, and the artists were waiting at each of these stops. And the murals were intended to keep people or discourage them from pouring anything but water down the storm drains. So that was a really cool deal, and might work here in Oklahoma City if that ever comes up. But the more important one was on Saturday. I went to the one OKC block party over on the eastern side of Oklahoma City, and it was fantastic. There were a bunch of service people there with tents set up, you know, health services. The Oklahoma Arts Council was there, and I think it would be an opportunity. Chairperson Bailey, the mayor was there. There were a lot of folks there that I knew, and of course JB was there, and it would have been a great opportunity for us to set a table to talk about opportunities with Oklahoma City. But coming up is Juneteenth, and there's going to be a similar party that JB is instrumental in setting up. So we might think about getting involved in that one. And that's it.
Commissioner Loftus had another comment.
Yes, as many of you know, my wife Jan Loftus is a lobbyist at the state legislature, and she passed me a note a while ago which states that House Bill 2911 eliminates the Department of Tourism from the requirements of the Arts in Public Places Act. This passed out of the House Appropriations Committee 27-7. Still has to go to the Senate and be deliberated, but sorry.
That wasn't a very good comment.
Nope.
No.
Commissioner Loftus.
It's one of this, we need to gird our loins and go out there and work with them. So
You said that was House Bill 2911. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you for that information.
That is one of the reasons why we've got to get out there in the legislature and inform some of these legislators, that because they tend to see art as being kind of fluff stuff and not important parts of our economy.
Or educational processes either.
Commissioner Eichmann, I believe you had your hand raised as well. No? Okay. Commissioner Chambers.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm curious about, and this may be a question for Commissioner Hill, heads up, Steve, about the legislative agenda that comes from the city. Isn't that around this time? And what does that look like? And are the arts involved?
Good question. That's already been done. It's the legislative committee meets, and it's usually the mayor and 2 council members, and they come up with an agenda fairly early on in the legislative session of items that we're fighting for, items we support, and that, you know, it has various degrees of how hard we're going to fight for these things. And to the best of my knowledge, there were no arts related issues in that agenda.
And I should clarify, that's not fair of me putting that question to you so forcefully. So it sounds like a binary question, whether you support the arts or not. I did not intend that.
No, it's all good. Like I said, that's done fairly early on, and it tends to be a little more about city specific things and more broad topics like the arts, but certainly something, you know, that we can fight for. So
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Any other items from commissioners? Commissioner Cooper?
I was wondering if Robbie had anything more to say about a special event that's coming up in June with artist Susan Narduli.
Yes, so all of you should have received an invitation today. And if you did not, please let me know, because Susan Narduli will be in town to see her work. And we would like to meet with you at dusk in the convention center to celebrate that and hear her say a few words about her work if you haven't met her so far. This will be like our first in-person something to celebrate. And so our public information officer, Christy Yeager, helped us put this together. So please let me know if you did not receive that invitation today.
And the invitation does require an RSVP.
It does, and you are allowed to bring a guest. I do want to reinforce that.
Thank you. Commissioner Kovash?
And I need a date for that night. So if anybody knows anybody desperate enough to go out with me, please let me know.
Oh, I don't think that's an official announcement through the
No.
commission. But are there any members of the public that wish to make a comment? Okay, hearing none, I'm going to adjourn today's meeting. Thank you for your attendance.
Thank you, everyone.